Hey everybody, what's up? This is Rifki from Rogue Royal. Welcome to episode 2 of our podcast. We're just gearing up this week to get back out on the second half of North Dakota Country Fest. Figured we'd check in with you guys, see what was going on.
Yeah, so for those of you who aren't aware, we have a band with my brother Calvin and my sister-in-law, his wife. That's how that works. And we've been out on the road with Tracy Byrd for the last 2 weekends, doing 10 total shows with them, and it's been a blast. Tracy Byrd's band is kick-ass.
Every single one of them are top-notch players.
They really lay it down, and it's like I feel like every time we go out on these things, we have this conversation when we get back, like, oh, I can't, I didn't remember how many songs this person had or how many songs this person had, but it's literally like song, like, holy shit, I didn't know Tracy Byrd had this many songs.
I didn't realize I've been listening to him my entire life.
Yeah.
That name eluded me a little bit, not gonna lie, but every single song in his set I knew, so I was like, holy hell.
Man, and that day too during sound check when they were playing Ain't No Sunshine, Tracy wasn't on stage yet for the full check, but the band started playing Ain't No Sunshine, and everybody took like a lap with a solo, and it was just incredible, man. I stood there and videoed and just drooled the whole time.
Chad's the guitar player, right?
Yep.
Chad's his name.
Yep.
Super nice guy. All of them are, but he doesn't have a mic on stage, and he just stepped up to Tracy's mic and started singing. And me and Monty and Colin just looked at each other, were like, what? This guy can sing? Like, not only can he play like a madman, but he's got a great voice.
Well, then he chopped into that lead solo, and we all just froze for a second and went,
I had
what
actual
the fuck?
goosebumps. It was.
You need to show me that video because I have no idea what you
yeah,
guys
I'll
are
send it
Video
talking
to you.
really
about.
does it no justice. When we were there in person, it was insane.
Yeah. Maybe I'll have to ask Chad to bust that out on
Yeah.
Friday.
There you go.
For me, please.
Yeah, but these guys are like super like world class dudes, and it's been cool like hanging out with them backstage, between sound checks and performance times and stuff, and just like hearing stories from like the 90s when they were coming up in the industry, and like talking about different artists that they played with, and just like, I don't know, it's cool like as a younger musician, trying to get into that world, just like hearing about how their experience went, and like, because everybody like takes a different path. Like there's literally no story that's ever the same, it seems like. And it's just been nice that they've been like down to sit and chat with us and not just like tour bus stage. It's been hanging in the green room and like nothing crazy or anything like that, but we're just cheesing on the couch bullshitting. And I think they've appreciated, like, because we're also doing production for the tour. So, like, we're at the venue early. We're setting up all the production. We're getting them on stage to sound check, and then we're also performing, and then we're staying and tearing down. So I think, like, they do appreciate, like, how much we are doing.
Yeah, party them into the ground. They're like, what are you guys doing up this morning? How are you guys alive?
Yeah.
And you got the same energy. How?
Those guys are off the bus right away in the morning too. Like they're right to the venue, and they're milling around when we're loading in and stuff. It's crazy. They're pros, that's for sure.
Yeah, they're ready to go when they need to be, if not an hour beforehand. Which is just incredible. It's really, really great working with pros like that.
Oh yeah. I had a really good time with Jeremy, their bass player, before the second show, I think. So yeah, I don't know. They all warmed up to us pretty fast, but we were geeking over my basses because I was like working on them, and we're just like talking about gear and everything. And then lo and behold, this guy like is into every band that I'm into, like all
Skier
the
metal.
I saw them 2 weeks
he
ago.
wasn't throwing metal
This
at
guy
me,
counts too.
but progressive mathcore, that kind of fun R&B stuff, and I don't know.
Higher
It's just-
than 4.
It never surprises me, but like it's just really cool when you see a really talented musician in a genre. But what do you listen to? Everything.
Yeah.
It's always the case, but it always surprises me.
I was laughing that night when I came downstairs and I saw you yapping, and he was just sitting there and
Don't scare him away.
I was trying to get a read on the scenario,
First
and
night of the tour.
I was like, "Oh, there goes Kyle."
Is Kyle being overly hyper and gonna scare this guy away?
Hey, man, want to share gear?
No, but Tracy too, like he's even been like as the tour has progressed, he's been like a little more each night milling around and hanging out and making smart ass comments and stuff like that too. You could just it's funny seeing like the comfortability level grow from night 1 to say like night 3, even night 3 on the tour, where it's like, okay, we know these guys now, like they're cool, like they're not messing shit up, like it's all good, like we can
Everything's going
hang
smooth
with them,
yep.
Well, and then you get to from 3 to 6, and it's like,
We almost got Chad to
that's when it
smile
gets
one night.
questionable.
I think we did get Chad to smile one night.
But can we talk about how badass Tracy is, though? Like,
Yeah.
his bus breaking down in Jamestown and the guy working on it.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
the real deal. When like you're the star, but you're also gonna get out and crank on a pipe on your RV too.
He owns the bus, he drives the bus, and he wrenches on the bus, and then he goes on stage and sings like
Serenades
an
women.
angel. It's crazy. I've had "Don't Take Her, She's All I've Got" stuck in my head for like 3 weeks straight now.
Oh, by far one of the greatest live voices I've ever heard
so
in
good.
person.
Well, it's
Yeah.
so crazy too, because like obviously we set up production for this, so like we know what's like going on, and there's no tracks, and sometimes it doesn't even look like the dude's singing. He just like naturally projects the voice of a country
his
angel.
driver Mason was saying that he's like, sometimes when the guy talks, it's like he's singing.
It's just so effortless. It's crazy. It's fun. Like it's just like being able to like stand side stage, watch the band, and then also like walk out to front of house, watch and hear the band, and just kind of go back and forth between the two, because you're picking up things side stage that you don't necessarily see front of house, but then you're hearing everything like full mix at front of house, and you're just like, oh my gosh, it's crazy. And Taylor Austin Dye, she's the direct support. Her band has been super cool the whole time as well, and she's got a killer voice. And it was like the first night we had Tracy up, and like the first day everything's kind of getting figured out. We're the venue, the load-in area was super tight. We could only load in one trailer at a time, and then getting Tracy in on stage, it all kind of took a little longer than we were anticipating. So, like, going into Taylor Austin Dye's sound check and then our sound check, there was, like, no time. So we're talking about, like, do we share kits? We're running a tight stage. Is Ben going to be cool? Ben is Taylor Austin's drummer. And, we
Can
finally...
confirm. Cool as fuck.
Yeah. So we finally like they kind of strolled in and we're milling around, just kind of like, trying to figure out what was going on. So we got over and introduced them and like, hey, whatever, Colin, Ben, the whole thing. And then I think we were getting ready to actually throw their stuff on stage, and Cal's like, so did anybody ever talk about sharing drum kits? And I think you were out at the van at the time. And I was like, I don't know for sure. And Ben's like, well, he's like, I'd prefer to use my kit, but Colin can play on my kit if he wants. So I just stick my head out the door. I'm like, Colin, Ben's kit? And you're like, yup. All right.
Let's go.
And that's how
Simple
it's been all
setups, let's
go. But just like stuff like that, super cool when, bands are willing to work together. Some stages are big and we have plenty of room. Some stages are super tight and there's literally no room. Like if we put 3 kits on stage, there's no room for the rest of the band. So having everybody willing to work together and then, just hang out and stuff afterwards is like so much fun. And that's kind of like, that's when it's like, I love being in a band.
As it's progressed and stuff, like it's just kind of funny. Like, oh, first day we're a little behind schedule, and oh, this is a big deal. And next day it's like all of a sudden we're just on top of our stuff.
Yeah.
Like how fast we're getting set up now, and
you get the rhythm down. Everybody knows their job and is doing
Yeah.
it. Monty's getting the banner hung. That's no problem.
In a timely manner.
Guy.
Hey, Monty, you get the banner hung?
Hey, you know what?
Except for when you got to work on lights and Cal gets a little...
That fucker got hung every night, I'll tell you what.
But the second weekend, Taylor Austin Dives Band had a little bit of a situation where Kyle needed to jump in and fill in for the second and third. Well, it'd be the fifth and sixth show of the tour.
yeah. So the Friday and Saturday, it was like noon, I think, and we were sound checking by 5, I want to say, or Taylor was at 4. We were at 5. So between noon and 4, she just basically asked me, like, can you cover their set? And I was like, sure, why not? And I've heard them play it the first 4 shows, so that's about all I knew. And so I think around like 1 o'clock, I started listening to the songs. And I didn't have any charts or anything either, so I basically just sat at the dinner area where like Tracy's band was out rolling through eating, and I'm just like taking up half the table with my MacBook and my bass, and just basically just kind of like writing dummy charts just to kind of get song structures down for an hour set, and got through like half of that and basically did sound check and then crammed a little bit more before we started playing. But that was like the most electrifying experience ever. But that went really incredible, and I don't know. I'm just glad they trusted me enough to take on a huge task like that. Like, these aren't small shows by any means, so
They had no other choice.
they didn't have other.
No, it was sweet. You nailed it too, because it was like you had literally like 5-6 hours tops, like from the time you got out of the van to learn your shit, and got some notes and just hammered it out. Like, even, I was going between front of house and side stage, and I'd go front of house and be like, yeah, Rutten sounds pretty good up there, actually. Like, go side stage and you're like grooving it, like. And it was funny, like,
Ben was jamming with you too.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it was funny, like, night one, you're a little more stiff. You're nervous, I'm sure, and you hadn't had a chance to really learn the songs yet or listen to them. So it was funny seeing you from the first night of jumping on stage and doing it to the second night when you were actually like jamming and like moving around, where you actually had a feel of the songs and you had played them and then also got to listen to them like on the drives and stuff. So that was pretty funny.
God dang.
But yeah, good on you. I mean, and that's
yeah.
great.
Yeah,
Like,
that was awesome.
I mean, that's great for you too, because like, you never know when you get a call like that. So being able to do it on the spot is huge, because that's just like, opportunities like that don't always come up. So being able to capitalize when they do is big time. So yeah, we have, we're back out. We leave Thursday. We head out to Gillette, Wyoming for the first night. Those are going to be sweet shows. We're looking forward to linking up with those guys.
Yeah.
So that's the next 2 weekends. And then May 11th.
Yeah.
Yes, May 11th. Rogue Royals back in the Twin Cities here in Minneapolis at the Underground Music Cafe with our good pals, Uncle Daddy.
I think another incentive about this show is Logan Stoliker. It'll be his last show in Minnesota before he moves to Nashville.
Yeah.
So you definitely want to check that out.
Town party.
Give him a
for our
send
boy
off
before he heads out. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for that, dude. That's gonna be a great opportunity to go kick it.
Yeah.
Nashville. I can't talk, but
yeah, and like, shout out to Logan Stoliker. He's helped us out a few times throughout the years, coming and playing with us when we've needed him to do so, and he's always jumped in. So, I mean, Logan, thanks, buddy. We really appreciate you doing
thanks,
that.
Logan.
And
Love you, man.
it's going to be, we're rooting for you in Nashville. That's going to be awesome. So, and Logan's a killer guitar player, so he's going to kill it down there.
I got a question.
Uh-oh.
It's a big one.
What's this now?
Is Nickelback good?
Yes.
Or not?
Yeah. So I know you guys left me on red when I asked you if you watched the Nickelback documentary or not.
I answered it in my head, and it was no, not yet.
I did the same thing. I looked at it, therefore I answered it.
No, I'm just kidding. No, it's actually funny is when we were driving home from tour last weekend, Monty had us on a little bit of a Nickelback kick there. You were just playing some of their older, like, badass songs, and they're like ones I hadn't heard in a long time, and I was like, God, I forgot about that song. And then I think it was the Follow You Home. That's the first song on
with that gnarly
Right,
drum intro.
Yep. Oh my gosh. So yeah, it was funny because so we're listening to Nickelback on the way home, and then Monty was like, I mean, this song. We're like, oh my gosh, there's so many badass tunes. So then last week I actually went and did like a full Nickelback deep dive from first album to the last album. I listened through all of them straight through.
Did you win?
And there's a lot of badass Nickelback songs out there. The first two albums were like super different. Like,
almost like grungy, punky.
Dude, Nickelback has a gent song. Let's not forget that.
they have a handful of gent songs.
They were definitely 90s, you know.
It was like you could hear them especially the first two albums. You could hear like Chad was definitely in like the Nirvana stage of things. So like when you can kind of somewhat like understand the Nirvana wannabe criticism, but it was like album 3, like their first album that hit, where like it finally started sounding like they figured out
what would that be
thing.
then? So was it Silver Side Up first?
No, that's their third
That's
album.
their
That's
third record.
the best one they got, though.
Yeah, so there's
on
two.
record.
I'm missing some Nickelback then.
Yeah, there's two albums before that. Like that was
There's The State and Curb, I think, are the two before that.
So then what's the one with like the car and the long road?
The Long
Is it called-
Road.
Yeah, okay.
Or are you talking about All the Right
the one that has animals?
All the Right Reasons?
that's all the right reasons.
So that's the one I got. That's like my introduction. Like,
that's like
Good
2005.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think 4. Possibly. But I remember my grandma bought me that CD when it came out, and it still holds up big time. I can't
think
stand
all the right
Rockstar,
reasons is 05.
Side of a Bullet, though, dude.
Yeah. Side of a Bullet and Animals are like
Follow
God-tier
You Home,
songs. Yeah.
All the Wrong Reasons. That song's got a lot of, I think.
Look at this graph.
Is Next
So-
Contestant on that album?
So that album,
Yeah.
I was just watching the new Nickelback documentary. I feel like such a tool. I'm just full Nickelback.
You're
the
pretty
last
excited
2
right now.
weeks.
They're good,
Dude, I was because I remember listening to Nickelback when I was like 10 years old, and my sister's LeBaron, because she would play the Silver Side Up album, like with How You Remind Me, all those tunes on it. And
Never made it as a wise man.
and so like I got super into Nickelback like right away from like 10 to 15, and then I just like haven't listened to him since, and then started listening to him again and was like, holy shit, I forgot how many good songs Nickelback actually has. But anyways, I was watching the new documentary, and that album has 6 #1 singles on it. The All the Right Reasons album.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Where did you see this? On the documentary?
Yes, the documentary. The new Nickelback
one?
documentary.
Gotcha.
An old one.
Make sure I had my stuff together here.
Well, Monty, let's hear your thoughts on Nickelback. I know you get pretty amped up about them.
Wow.
Didn't even let me finish my question.
He just likes singing Animals at a cover show.
I'd rather not, but
But you'll start the song anyways.
well, I'll try to at least. Like I say, let's start it off with Nickelback's best album, Silver Side Up, by far. It was so raw and in your face. I remember my dad handing me that album when I was a kid and going, listen to this, and I was like 4.
When are you going to grow up, son?
He handed me that right after he handed me the Kid Rock Devil Without a Cause CD. So
Oh yeah, right off the bat.
Also,
that explains way too much.
And the one right before that was
awesome.
Rob Zombie's Hellbilly Deluxe. So I mean, it was
What was the Nickelback tune off Silver Side Up that you were playing last weekend? I cannot remember the name of it. It was like the third track on the record.
Woke Up This Morning. Oh,
That song.
The
I
riff,
had never
dude.
heard that song before, so or
Really?
maybe I had it and I just,
Right, just
like
didn't
escaped
remember
my
it.
brain. But like you played that, I was like, "What the hell is this? This is freaking awesome!"
yeah. Yep.
Badass. Yeah, I mean, like
Big fan.
you like when I was listening through like all of the albums, like I mean, you can understand some of the criticism, like as far as like, you know, cheesy like radio pop songs, but like if you listen to any artist catalog that's put out 10 albums, like I mean, name me one artist that's put out that many records that has just every song is a hit for 10 records straight. Like it's just not gonna happen.
Yeah.
And take out those 2 songs that were radio singles, right?
Yeah.
Everything else on the album is usually this. I'm talking in Nickelback's case, not always,
Yeah.
but it happens a lot too. Where you take out those 2 radio singles that you're sick of hearing because they're blasted on the radio for you all the time. The rest of them bang and they need to be heard, but those are the ones that usually aren't heard. Like you were saying, even Woke Up This Morning. That should be a Nickelback song that's heard by more people that like that style of music, but they're getting drowned out by the How You Remind Me is.
Well, what I found was interesting when they were talking about it is like, you know, because How You Remind Me came out, and then it was like, I think there was 2 other songs on that album as singles that they put out right away. I can't remember the names of them, but all 3 songs were in the top 10 radio chart, Billboard top 100 or whatever, at the same time. They were all in the top 10. So like every radio station was like, you change the station, Nickelback, change the station, Nickelback. So that's kind of what like started the whole like, oh my gosh, I can't get away from these guys. But then they had their second album that came out and it sold like half as many copies. But then All the Right Reasons came out and it was like hit, you know. And that album, I think, sold like, I think they said like 10 or 15 million copies or something. Like it's one of the highest selling albums.
Did they talk
in the last
about
decade.
that joke with that comedian made that kind of started the?
Yeah.
I can't remember that dude's name, but there's a.
On it was on
his glasses and
wasn't it on
sideburns.
MTV?
Yes.
Yeah.
He made a really funny joke about hating Nickelback, and then that seemed like when everyone was kind of jumping on that bandwagon, like a band gets too big, you're gonna make fun of them, you know, like that's kind of like Justin Bieber. Oh, fuck that guy. Nickelback, same shit.
Well,
but I think my favorite part about Nickelback though is how crunchy their guitar tones are. Always it's so ungodly thick. Like you don't hear a lot of metal bands that have that good of tone, and it's kind of fucked up.
dude, and they're both gnarly guitar players. Chad and Ryan are insane, and like Chad can solo like a motherfucker. Like it's crazy. Some of the
after
stuff he could play.
Whole bottle of Jack Daniels down, and the guy just sits there and.
Do you guys see them playing with Hardy? They did one of the songs with him, and that was pretty freaking badass.
Was
cool.
it Truck Bad? Maybe I want to say.
I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a cool. Well, and he did, and Hardy just put out a new song. I don't know if it's called Rockstar, but it's like something. It's something to do with Rockstar. Like he uses a line out of the Rockstar song or whatever. So they did like a mashup. It was actually like Hardy's Rockstar tune is actually like when he was playing it with Nickelback playing live, it was like super heavy and like, oh yeah. And it was funny because it was like on CMT Crossroads, which is like, you know, laid back country, and he's like, you know, screaming. It was sweet. But yeah. So I mean, we were talking this week, you know, we were just kind of going through some, you know, looking at our album and like some of the stuff, like, you know, we get data in for like radio play for Novocaine. It's been on creeping up the SMR chart. 26,
21.
21.
Yeah, we got a new email today about it.
Sweet. We're just about to crack the top 20. That's gnarly.
We still got 2 more weeks to push, I think it said.
Yep.
So
So if you listen to the radio, which I know is fewer and farer in between these days, but if you're a radio listener, call in to the radio station, request Novocaine. That helps keep it spinning. That just helps the song keep climbing up and get a little further airplay. We were also talking we were surprised by a few songs that were getting streamed as much as they were I'm trying to remember which songs they were.
I was peeking at Spotify, and I was noticing that some of our songs, like Goodbye, for instance, it kind of feels like it's really chill and kind of more or less a throwaway song, kind of in our eyes. But that, outside of the singles we've released, that is the one that's doing the best on Spotify, and that really caught me off guard. And we're looking at the list a little closer, texting about it, and I think if any of us had predictions, it's the complete opposite order, which is just wild. But I suppose we're not the consumers, so.
Well, it's kind of funny when you start getting some of that data back, because when you're in the studio, you grow attached to certain songs that you're recording and stuff. You're like, oh, this is my favorite song. I think this is going to be the best album on the record. And it's basically all that shit goes out the window as soon as it's released and everybody starts listening to it. So it's just cool, for us seeing what people are digging, who's sharing songs. I know Whiskey Lemonade's been getting a lot of love for people too, and that is one of our favorite songs as well. So that's cool. So just appreciate everybody listening and sharing our stuff. And we got 2 more weekends on the road with Tracy Byrd. We're back in town May 11th. We have some shows coming up going into the summer that are going to be happening soon here. That stuff comes real fast. So if you're looking for any information, check out our website, rogueroyalofficial.com. You can find our dates on there. Obviously, hit our social media as well, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. That's all Rogue Royal Official. We're easy to find. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next time.